And welcome to this new episode of the Live from the Leon's Den. My name is Cesar Rincon. I'll be your host here today with attorney Carlos Leon. Carlos, how you doing? Good to see you.
Pretty good. Good to see you again, Cesar.
I know it's been a little while.
It has. It has. We're coming up on the big July 4th week or weekend. I don't think anybody knows which weekend is the July 4th weekend, but
Right.
so we're going to call it the July 4th week.
Excellent, excellent. So, any plans? Any special plans for the week?
I am. I'm going to go to the coast with my family and some friends, and it should be a great, very hot weekend. But we are looking forward to some downtime.
Excellent, Carlos. Before we get into the heart of the matter, we're going to be talking about personal injury cases, the flooding cases, and all of that. But can you give us a little bit of background on your experience, and the type of law that you practice, so the people who are watching for the first time get to know you a little bit?
Absolutely. So I've been doing this I'm going close to 23 and a half years now. And so it's been mostly personal injury litigation, which covers a range of items. I mean, it's not just car wreck cases. It can be premises liability, accidents at big box stores. It can be construction site accidents. It can be 18-wheeler accidents. It's really any kind of case where there's been some sort of significant personal injury as a result of an entity or a person's negligence. So we'll look at them. Take a look at them, and we've been doing that for quite a long time. We've had a lot of success. We've learned a lot. We've done a lot of good things for our clients, and it's been a very rewarding practice for that long.
Well, and I've had the privilege of knowing you and working with you for going on, I guess, about 15 years or so.
That's right.
And one of the things that I admire about your firm is that you can handle the big cases, but it's still a small firm. You're not going to get lost in the shuffle of 500 cases, and people don't even know your name. It seems like every client by name. You personally know what's going on with each case.
And that's true. And I mean, that's kind of the business model that we've been able to kind of drive ourselves into over the last 10 years. We get to kind of look at what we're going to take, and I want to make sure that we're taking a case that not only is it warrants our participation, but it's one that I know that although there is going to be challenges, that I know that at the end, if I can make the client whole, it's going to be a good thing. Okay, so yes, that's something we really cherish, is to be able to know our clients, to be able to be accessible to our clients, and to let them know that we're not just their lawyer, we're kind of their partner along the ride to get them back to where they were.
Okay, excellent. So speaking of that, let's talk a little bit about some of the cases that you've recently been involved with and that you've had success. You were mentioning an 18-wheeler that was going to Mexico.
Correct. No. Actually, it was a bus case.
A bus case.
Yeah. So we
Yes.
know in this part of here in Houston and in Southwest Texas, it's a very common form of transportation for Mexican citizens or people who have family in Mexico to take. You see them on 59 all the time. So yes, we did have one of those recently on a very widely reported case where there were some fatalities, and our case is moving along, and we've gotten one of them resolved. And what people don't realize is those buses are held to a higher standard, just like an 18-wheeler driver. I mean, they're
Right.
subject to federal regulations and rules that they have to, abide by. The carrier or the owner of the bus, they've got to do certain things when they hire their bus drivers.
Right.
So those are, again, kind of a specialty case. You don't want to just take that kind of case to anybody, because there are some very specific questions you want to ask for. There's very specific information you want to get. And yes, that's one of the types of cases that we recently resolved. Another type of case, which we're handling a lot of these, are the construction site cases. July 4th weekend, a lot of folks are heading out of town, taking off from their jobs. But remember, when they're working at these construction sites, there are some very clear obligations that those construction site superintendents or subcontractors or general contractors
Right.
are going to have to each other. They kind of call it the multi-employer work site, because you got all kind of levels there. But yes, we've had success with those. Recently completed one and have many more in the filing cabinet, so to speak. So those are cases we've been working on as well.
Well, and it's one of those things, I want to expand a little bit on construction site cases. As I drive around Houston, we see all kinds of potential violations. And, one of the things that workers typically don't know is their rights. They don't know, they fall, they get injured, they don't know what they don't know. So can you expand a little bit on when somebody has an injury at work, whether the employer subscribes or doesn't subscribe to workers' compensation, what are the steps to follow, and why should they call you anyway, just to make sure that that they're really taken care of?
Right, and you mentioned a mouthful there, so let me let me break that down. I mean, part of the problem is that individuals that don't know their rights at work sites not only don't know their rights, but they don't know how to enforce their rights, okay?
Right.
And so, unfortunately, a lot of the construction site jobs are just inherently dangerous. And usually the way you have it is you have someone that's in control of the work site. You have a general contractor, and then that general contractor hires subcontractors to do different phases of the project. That subcontractor may hire some labor or may hire other subcontractors to carry out parts of it. There are duties that are owed between those individual levels of employers.
Okay.
Some of them can be from a contract. Some of them can be just because they've controlled certain parts of the project, and therefore they have a duty to make sure it's done correctly. OSHA applies. So that's something that a lot of folks don't understand. How does that apply? Well, it applies to, for example, issues of fall protection. If you're doing work over a certain height, it applies to if you're building a certain type of structure, you have to do it within this manner. And OSHA is very specific as to those sort of protections for workers. A lot of subcontractors and general contractors, they don't pay attention to it. You know why? Because it costs money to pay attention to it.
Right.
And I get it. You're trying to build a building and you want to maximize your profit, but you can't do it at the expense of the laborers. You can't do it at the expense of the workers. So yes, you mentioned workers' comp, whether they're subscribers or not. In the state of Texas, if you're an employer in the state of Texas, you've got an option. You can subscribe to the workers' comp, which indicates that you work for me, you get injured on the job. It doesn't matter how you got injured. If you got injured on the job, then there's a certain type of claim you can file under my workers' comp insurance. If me as an employer decide I don't want to get workers' comp insurance, it costs too much, or I just don't want to do it. Well, now you expose yourself to a lawsuit if your employee gets injured on the job. So you have workers' comp insurance, your employee cannot sue you for a workers' comp claim. They can't sue you for liability, they can only get a workers' comp claim. If the employer doesn't have workers' compensation insurance, then the employee has a claim specifically against that employer for claims of negligence. So it's something we've done for a long time and we understand it. And I could talk for an hour about that. But if you're working at a construction site, you or a loved one are working at a construction site and you're seriously injured, you may not know who to go after. Okay, there may be no one to go after I look at it, but I will look at it at no charge because the consultation is free. And I will let you know, this is what we need to do. These are the folks we need to go after. We've done it for so long. We've got the experts in place that know the OSHA, that know how to go about making these claims and getting you the compensation you deserve.
Excellent. Now, Carlos, July 2nd today, the holiday is here. Lots and lots of beer flowing, lots of spirits flowing.
Yes.
This time of year, especially this whole week. It's not just about the 4th. It's like a lot of people are off today. They're going to be off on Thursday and Friday. It's just kind of an entire week of festivities. Let's talk a little bit about responsibilities of drinking and driving, of course. And then also after that, let's talk a little bit about poolside safety and celebrations at home where there's alcohol and maybe even fireworks involved.
Absolutely. So let's talk about, as you said, this is one of those odd 4ths where it's in the middle of the week. So I know a lot of folks that are taking off all week.
Right.
So you've got people that are going to be on the road that have had too much to drink, that have been drinking, and that's enough right there. Be careful is the first thing I tell you. Be aware of your surroundings. I always tell my young sons that as they're driving and learning how to drive, not just about what you're seeing in front of you. You got to take a peek and look behind you. And I'm not going to give a driving class today, but be leery of what's coming on. There's 18-wheelers or big commercial vehicles moving around you. Be careful if you get in an accident. Obviously, take care of your health first. Make sure you get the first responders there. You call an ambulance. You call the police. Once that's done, then try to memorialize as much of the scene as you can with your cell phone. Take pictures. Make sure you get witnesses' names and numbers. I have a very interesting case right now where we have significant injuries, and it's a disputed liability case. And there's one witness who saw everything. Name on the police report. And he will be the key witness. And my client's relative who showed up at the scene was able to get that phone number. That person never talked to the police until later. We got him, took his deposition. That's going to be something that helps us, be able to help our client. You talk about poolside. You got to be careful, not only with your own family when they're at the pool, but more importantly, we all invite guests. We invite, you know, our boys, our girls, our sons or daughters invite their friends, neighbors come over. The next thing you know, you've got 20 people swimming around in your pool. You have to be careful with that. You are responsible as that pool owner to let them know of any dangers that might be in the pool. Parents, you're obligated to supervise your child. You can't just throw them out to the wind and say, hey, come back in 2 hours. If you know they're going to a pool next door, you got to supervise them. There is a duty to supervise. If you're going to have fireworks, fireworks are very dangerous, as we all know. First, make sure you're not in an area where there's a burn ban. Secondly, make sure there is adult supervision. I mean, some of those fireworks tell you very clearly they're age appropriate for certain ages. So be leery of that. Watch your kiddos. Be careful yourself. I mean, I know I like to you know, participate with fireworks, but I make sure that everybody around knows what's going on, and make sure you do that with your kids, because if you have a party, you're in a pool, you're shooting fireworks, and something goes wrong, I promise you they're going to come after you. Whoever's injured, the family of that person that's injured is going to come after you. So it's a lot easier to be careful. Give clear instructions, have adult supervision, do the things that are, it's common sense stuff, but do it.
Well, and it's interesting because I got a hammock for Father's Day, and I actually just finished setting it up. And,
I saw that picture of
yeah,
you in the hammock.
and then the first thing I told Amy is, because you know, we have a lot of my wife's friends have young kids, and they come over and swim. They do exactly that. I said, hey, make sure if the kids are going to get on the hammock, make sure their parents are watching them, not horsing around, because they can flip over and hurt themselves. And so we said, no kids on the hammock, and so that's going to be the rule. Just no kids on the hammock coming in, just to prevent any dangerous situations.
That's a good idea. I mean, if you want to really take it to the max, I mean, you could have a little sign laminated, and just post it right there on, you know, when you walk out the door. And that may sound crazy, Carlos. Why would I do that at my own house? Well, you don't have to have it there all the time. But if you're going to have a party, and you're going to have 10, 15, 20 people at your house, do it. You know, that's just one other step, another layer. It's good for two reasons. Number one, it does warn your guests when they're coming over. Hey, you know, be careful here. And secondly, if something does happen, you know, you've got a layer of protection.
And you know, it's interesting because even going to the max, a couple of weeks ago, I was in Dallas visiting a friend, and he lives on the Lake Louisville, and got a couple jet skis. He was having a big party, probably about 50 people there, pool, spa, jet skis, everything going in. And they actually had a release form at the door, and they asked everybody to sign a release just to make sure that they're protected, because if something does happen, then somebody might come after them. So
that's right.
All right, well, Carlos, we're getting to the end. I know you've been very busy with baseball as well.
I have.
Tell us about that.
Well, before I get to that, let me you know, one more thing. There's some important news for the inverse condemnation clients that are out there that we are working with, and together with another law firm. We've got a trial date now for the first wave of those cases in February, and we're very excited about being able to start that process of litigating it and making sure that you know, we're pushing those cases forward so we can kind of get our clients back to where they need to be. You know, a lot of those folks that were affected by the inverse condemnation have had to either completely rebuild, some have left, but rest assured we haven't forgotten about you. They just take time, and I think things are moving in the right direction. We have very good leaders, you know, moving our group of cases, and I think it's going to turn out well.
Now, speaking of that, if somebody still, for whatever reason, has not filed a claim or filed into the lawsuit, can they still do that?
It's not too late.
It's not too late.
It's not too late. So,
okay, perfect.
Back to baseball.
Yes.
So our Astros are doing well, so we're excited about that. I wanted to give a special shout out to the Lamar Little League All-Star teams. There's a whole host of them, ages ranging from 10 all the way up to 12. And I am partial to one group because the group that my sons were involved in, but the Lamar American 12-year-olds are heading off to sectionals this week.
Excellent.
And I'm wishing them luck. I'm also wishing the Lamar Blue teams that are out there, wishing them all luck. So have fun, boys. Moms and dads, cherish those memories, and have a safe 4th. And same to you, Caesar. Have a good 4th.
Thank you so much.
All right.